Hey Rebels, my name is Matthew Barton. Welcome to the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. The new Frost Festival starts February 4th, and Rebellion has teamed up to brew a special red winter wheat beer for the whole thing. Today's guest is Brandy Jones, an award-winning artist behind the eye-catching artwork you'll see everywhere at the festival, including our Frost beer cans. So let's get into it. Brandy, welcome to the show.
Hi, happy to be here.
How's it going?
It's going pretty damn good.
Survived that cold weather?
Oh yeah, it's I don't know, maybe I'm born to be here because I like the cold. I love the cold and the snow.
I guess let's start from the beginning. Talk to me like I'm 6. Who are you and what do you do?
I am an Indigenous artist, and that's a bit of a loaded question because there's it depends on the day what I'm doing. It can be like this next while coming up, I'm going to be doing outdoor carving with snow. But on any given day, like you can find me doing a TikTok, or you can find me finishing off a painting, or just so many different things online, or like working with the city. I love being an artist because it doesn't just entail one thing. It can really just be pretty much anything I want it to be, or anything somebody else wants it to be a lot of the time too, depending on the job.
I love that you kind of answered my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Oh,
what
yeah.
media do you typically work with? Is it painting, videos? Like I know you mentioned snow sculpture.
Yes. Well, for the most part, like I do acrylics, and I've kind of made actually my own style of artwork, just because of what I want it to represent. And like I grew up in British Columbia and Williams Lake for the first 12 years of my life, and I was very influenced by a lot of the artwork that I saw out there. Like a lot of the totem poles, like they're very known for like the Haida work out there, and like the Salish, and also like a lot of the Inuit work out there too. So and it's funny too, because like when we moved out to Saskatchewan, I saw how different the artwork was as well. And all of it is like as uniquely beautiful as like the different style, or sorry, like all the styles are like uniquely beautiful. So what I did is like I don't know, I just saw so many of the struggles that Indigenous people have been through, and I listen to a lot of what the elders, like I hear them talking about unity so much, and like how people really need to come together. And so what I did is I mixed Inuit, Salish, Haida, and Métis artwork, and I kind of just mashed it all together because one of my first loves for art was always abstract. So I just kind of did that, and then all the bright colors that I work with represent every single Indigenous nation. Because if you look at so many of the outfits or like the regalia that they use, there's so many bright colors. So what I wanted people to look at the artwork and just see the beauty behind Indigenous people, and just see it and just be wowed pretty much, and maybe just have maybe it just piques their interest and be like, what is this all about? Yeah. So
When you speak about West Coast kind of styles compared to say what we find here in the prairies, I do see a big difference in how it is presented. That's a striking contrast. And you said you're trying to marry those two pieces or blend multiple pieces together?
All of them, because there's so many unique stories that make up Indigenous people now. It's like not everybody comes from everybody has extremely different backgrounds now, and because not everybody grows up on a reservation, not everybody owns regalia, like not everybody speaks their language. And then you have the opposite side of that, where there's so many people that did grow up on a reservation, but you see like how many people were separated by like the 60 scoop, or residential schools, or like there's just kind of like a long list. And for myself, like because I mean, like you see racism, but you also see lateral violence sometimes too. And it's like, I just kind of really ask myself, like, what does it mean to be Indigenous, like in 2022? Because it doesn't look the same way that it used to anymore. And it's like, if you could have, um, I don't know, I just really like to focus on that unity because it's like, I think that's something especially that's needed in 2022. But it's just like if you could join together as one and just respect the story of where somebody else comes from, you know, because like my journey's been a little bit different in the fact that I never met my father until I was a little bit older, and like all of the research and all of the stuff that I've learned about, I never found out that I kind of figured out myself that he was part of the 60 scoop, and like the loss of culture there, like I've had um, stuff said kind of on both sides, you know, about like I've had people tell me I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And like when you see somebody that has a gift, like shouldn't you? I feel like you should invest in that though, and like try and help them along the way. And if you're being respectful, like yeah, I don't know if any of that makes any sense, but it's just like really at the end of the day, like if you're doing something that's uplifting, um, I don't know. It's just given me so many avenues to work with. Like, I love that I've been able to speak about Indigenous issues at the same time. And then also just build up Indigenous people. Like, that's so important because there's been so many things to happen, you know? And it's like, I feel like we're living in the time that I want to see Indigenous people like rise up into their full power. And I feel that way actually about pretty much everybody, not just Indigenous people, but um, yeah, just hearing so many of the stories and some of the trauma that people are working through, like I just feel especially like drawn to Indigenous people just because there was always this part of me that I didn't know where I came from, and I'm figuring some of that out now. But yeah, I just want people to look at it and see beauty and question the stories and the backgrounds and like have some empathy for people, you know? Like people are what life is all about.
With that opportunity to speak as an artist or to explore ideas, you kind of touched upon a lot there, and I guess the next follow through for a question would be: do you see people more willing to listen, or has the tone shifted or changed?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's funny because like you know, like how online, like you always I love to listen to people, and many of my conversations, sometimes it's funny, like it depends how you're willing to listen to other people as well, because sometimes I'll have like this conversation where somebody's coming from a place of like misunderstanding, and it will start out hostile, and they'll be really like upfront with me and just maybe not understand where like the place that I'm coming from. But those are the people that I especially like to sit down and try and have a conversation with, and I don't come at it like from a place of um, hatred or just being offended at the beginning, because just like Indigenous people, like everybody has a different story of where they're coming from, or you know, maybe it's the neatest thing. I just had this conversation with a lady the other day, actually, that started off like that, and it was hostile, and we ended up becoming friends in the end, and we both ended up following each other back because we both took the time to try and understand you know, where we were coming from at the end of it. And it's like it's a lot of it is about how you approach approach a situation. And sorry, what was your original question again? I get a little bit lost sometimes in these. I start going on rabbit trails a bit.
That's kind of how it just rolls on this podcast. I guess one of the things I wanted to lead into was, how did you get involved with the Frost Festival?
You know, I think I had been doing something with the city actually. And yeah, they gave out my information to them, and they actually approached me. And so I mean, I'm the type of person, like, if you approach me for something, and if I have the time to be doing it, I will always try and get involved and help out in any way that I can. So I was very happy that they asked, because it was cool to have something like Indigenous, like, representing a festival. And just like, even in so many Indigenous communities, like having community is like such an important thing. And the way the last like 2 years have gone, I was just like, you know what, like, if you're having a festival, like having everybody together, like, to me, that's the most amazing part, because that's something we've so been missing the last couple of years, and I think it's so important to have that community through a festival. And so, uh, like, they asked me, and I think I only had like a week or something, and I came up with like 3 or 4 different designs, and I had to come up with it really quick. So, but it was so cool, and to see where all of this has gone so far is just, it's been really incredible. Yeah.
When I was first presented with the artwork and talking about it with the other people here, we said, wow, it's really gorgeous. We love the colors. We love how this kind of fits with our kind of vision for what could look like on the can. And then it's always kind of a shot in the dark. You never know what the can is going to look like until you actually see it.
Oh, it's beautiful. I saw it. It looks so amazing.
And I was like, where did you guys, how did you even? And Mark says, just get Brandy on the podcast. She's a great talker. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't shut up sometimes.
But I think that's also okay. Maybe it's presumptuous for me to say, but I agree with you when you say we need to be more inclusive and have more Indigenous voices and have more Indigenous art. It's part of the space and the time and the place. And maybe it's not fair for me to say, but I think land acknowledgements don't go enough. It's not enough to sit through 10 minutes of land acknowledgements at the beginning of a presentation and then just have nothing else, no follow through. I like that we get to have an artist wrestling with these big ideas and representing us and putting these colors and this vision forward. I think that is better. I think it's the next step. I think it's essential. And so I kind of wanted to say, is that kicking around in the back of your mind, or is you just, I just do what I do?
Well, oh, that's so hard, because like, on that's another thing that kind of changes daily, because there's so many things even that I've just had to learn along the way too. And really, like, all I see for myself, like, it always goes back. I guess this is where it goes back to the meaning behind my art, because what my art represents is unity, and so it's not like, I really want everyone everyone to be united. It's not like, so many of the things that I've seen happen this last while, like, when you saw there was floods and parades of orange t-shirts of people marching together this year. And that's so beautiful, like, learning to um, respect everybody's culture, really, is like so important. And the fact that I think that we've seen so much of that happen already. Like, we've seen, like, it wasn't who was it marching with everybody this year in the street in orange t-shirts, like, it's been amazing to see the amount of support that there's already been. And yeah, it's like, it's really complicated, because there's so many different ways to look at so many things. And um yeah, I just I try to be as respectful as I can in when I approach subjects, because I still have, like, I don't always know everything, you know like, there's still a lot of stuff that I'm like learning. And um so many Indigenous people believe different things about different stuff too. So I just mainly try to stick to what's respectful a lot of the time, for all parties, right? but to be able to represent Indigenous people, and like there's so many topics that I like to stick to that I don't know. I don't know. That's could we do that again? Sorry.
I think that was a great answer. Yeah, the way you had me thinking about it was we did a lot of learning this year. We had Indigenous speakers come talk to us. We closed the tap room and we went down to the park and we listened to the speakers. At the end of the day, we hung Every Child Matters orange flag in the tap room, and there was a lot of discussion about what kind of conversations are we going to have because that flag is there. What are customers going to think? Will people be offended or will they consider it to be a welcoming, safer space? Will that change the vibe or will it bring people together? So everything you said, I just connect it to all the little pieces that we participated in 2021. And it's interesting.
I think too, like I think the beginning of like change as well is people just listening to each other because I remember growing up actually and hearing like there was so many times that like people would just assume that guy in the park was just like a drunk Indian pretty much, and it's like people I think I had heard even stories about stuff that had happened at those schools for a long time and people just thought that they were lies, or that a lot of stuff was made up. And it's like, it's funny because at the end of the day, I just feel like there's so much that we can all learn from each other on both sides, like just having that mutual respect for um, just for each side, like having, like being able to approach each other with that. And, because I mean, you see so many things, especially online nowadays. And like I said, I've gotten it from both sides. I've had a bit of, sometimes I have some crazy person saying a bunch of stuff to me, you know, just about, I don't know, I'm not even going to get into that. And then on the other side too. And so I think the best thing that like anybody can really do is approach stuff with that mutual respect and try to have an understanding of where the other side is coming from. Because if we can do that, and it's almost like people have sometimes forgotten what compassion or empathy is, especially right now. And I think, yeah, I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day is um, because we don't always understand each other, and I think that's where a lot of problems arise sometimes is people will just misunderstand something and then go on the offense, and that's why I especially try really hard with people sometimes that don't have that understanding. And it's like the coolest thing for me, the most amazing thing at the end of the day for me is when I've reached that person and I've swayed their opinion. And it's like I've had that debate. And some people you're not going to be able to reach at all. Like some people are just like they have their mind made up. And it's like I feel like a lot of those people are kind of just have a little bit of too much hate in their heart, maybe, you know? Like there's some people you can't sway their opinion for stuff at all.
I was thinking about how art is this kind of universal piece. You can create this thing of beauty, the colors, and I'm looking at your webpage and your portfolio on Instagram. I'm like, oh man, this is really good stuff. And I was thinking the other uniter is food. Getting to make bannock and eat meals together and share like drizzled honey, on traditional foods. And I'm like, those felt like the best ways to bring people together.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think actually in any culture, when you look at any culture, food is always something that brings somebody together, and that's actually one of my first loves. I think
Yeah.
like it. Oh, by far. Like I'm definitely like I do not eat healthy a lot of the time. But yeah, it like I think for because even like indigenous cultures, like they used to hunt together, and I mean there's still a lot of people that do. Um, but yeah, that's like, I feel like that's something that's always brought people together, and it's like, why not? Like, you get to eat and makes you feel good, and like people are laughing and sharing, and like I think actually potlucks came from a lot of Indigenous cultures too. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure that's from a lot of different people, but yeah, oh my goodness, do I love it. Yeah, I make some good bannock now. It took me years to learn how to do that. It used to be like rock bannock until I finally found a good recipe. Like, I finally think I nailed it, but no more rock bannock for me.
I've been really lucky to have Chef Jody Robson on the podcast a few times. So I'm really glad that I get to add yet another strong, amazing artist who works in a different medium, but
Oh,
kind
thank
of
you.
unite those two pieces.
Right. Like, I've met some amazing chefs, and it's like they can make, oh, it's food art. It really is. I think anybody is an artist. It depends what you're doing. You know, like you said, it's working with a different medium.
Is there one standout piece of your work that just sticks with you and you think, hey, people got to check this out. This kind of represents me.
Yes. Yes, I do. I actually just finished. It's funny because I'm drinking a cup of coffee right now, and if you look on this, this is probably like the best piece I've ever done. It took me like over a month to do, and it's just so much detail, like so much detail. It was a dragon, and it was actually a commission piece, but it took a really long time, and it really, I feel like it was one of those pieces that I didn't really expect to be doing, but it was like it pushed me up a level, you know, and so it just made me feel really proud at the end. It's like one of those things where you're doing something long, monotonous, and you're just like, you're so happy to be done when it's done. Like, you finished it and you're just like, yes, like I'm done. And then you look, like, I had to keep it for like a week just so I could look at it before I gave it away too, you know. And like, the person that I did it for was a family friend, like a longtime family friend. I know it's weird with this family. I've like met different portions. It's almost like I was meant to meet this family, actually. It's weird because I've worked for one of the cousins. Um, I'm good friends with one of the cousins, and I live next door to a couple of their cousins. And I was really thankful to be making that piece for a specific person just because I love the family so much. And they've really had an impact on me in so many different ways, you know. And like, that's the funny thing about Regina, is everybody knows somebody that knows somebody, and it's got that small town, big city feel to it. I don't know how to explain that. Anybody that's from Regina knows that though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Where can people find more of your work? I did see that mug on the website and I was like, man, that's really cool. Where do you want people to check you out? Is it Instagram primarily?
Um, it's pretty much anywhere, like wherever they go most, I'm probably on. So I have an Instagram, I have a Facebook page, I have a TikTok, and I have my website, and it's all under the same name. It's Brandy Jones Indigenous Art. So I kind of did that on purpose because it's like people can just find you easy when they're going to look for you. Yeah. So kind of wherever they really want, I'm there.
Well, I know I have so many more questions to ask you, but I want to keep it nice and easy listening. So I guess all I could say is, Brandy, thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's really a privilege.
Cheers. Rebels, thanks for listening today. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, be sure to join us on our brand new Facebook group page, the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. I'm going to include links to all things to find Brandy's art online. Check out the show notes. Don't miss out. It's really awesome. I'm also proud to let you know that we're members of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. It's a one-stop shop for tons of locally produced shows from across our province. You can find them at saskpodcastnetwork.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Untappd so you don't miss out on the latest and Sass Craft Beer news. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.